Hi, I'm Shonda Ramsey, your host and fellow indie author. Are you overwhelmed at the thought of publishing your book by yourself? Has fear kept you frozen in place, unable to write even the first word of your book? Not knowing the steps you need to take shouldn't stop you from writing. That's why I've asked for help from some amazing industry professionals, published authors, and others who are in the same situation as you to share their knowledge on the self-publishing process. Welcome to Dear Indie Author, where we inspire creative independence in every writer. Hey guys, it's Shonda. I am here with Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Oh, hello.
How are you doing?
Good. My eyeballs are glowing blue in your picture though, because I just got new lenses that have the blue light filter thing, so that's
Awesome.
fun.
That is fun. So for those listening to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see that. But if you want to see how wonderful that looks, head over to YouTube
Yeah.
because there will be a video for you there. So, you guys, we are doing another kind of relaxed little check-in with you to talk about our fall efforts. So, if you had listened to the one that we did last month, we talked to you about our month of September and how I epically failed it, but Jamie has been killing it. And so now we're going to recap October, even though it is November. So the day that we are recording this is November the 11th, which is a Monday. And the day that this podcast will air is November the 19th, which is not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. So you guys will get it then. So we're kind of recording this as close to real time as we can for you. We just want to do a recap of our previous month so you can kind of hear candidly what we did, what we wish we did, and how crazy we think we are right now for doing this. So, Jamie, let's start with you. What happened in October for you that worked really, really well?
So in October, I did more of a detailed outline than what I normally do. In previous years, I I thought I was a pantser, and I was not. So the year after that, I plotted, but I just kind of gave myself like a few points to hit. This year, I did more of a outline that had kind of a multiple paragraph um, style, and that seems to be doing really well for me. So yeah, that I think is the right combo for me.
Good. That's good. So I say this all the time, finding what works for you is absolutely critical when it comes to writing a novel of any kind, be it fiction or nonfiction, because there is no one size fits all approach. I think we are all different in what works, for us and what doesn't. So for me, I also did a more detailed outline in October. And for whatever reason, this book I am struggling to connect with. In October, that proved to still be the case. I was still struggling with it. I'm not sure what it was, other than I know that the main character's name shifted like three times. Her appearance changed, like until I finally figured out who she was. And I don't even think I figured that out until literally a week before we were to start writing.
Yeah, that
So,
sounds about right.
yeah, so you just got to figure out what works for you. But I also did a very detailed outline with paragraphs, not just bullet points. And now that we're in November, I can say that that definitely is what I needed as well. So I think that that was really smart. It is a lot of extra work, right? Would you say that?
Oh, for sure. But just the benefit to it, I think, far outweighs the time you spend up front. At
Yeah.
least it has for me.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I think that's my method to my madness going forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I know the chapter that I was writing this morning, I couldn't remember like where I left off and where I needed to pick up, but because I had those notes, it was so easy to just jump right back in. Like it felt effortlessly to make that chapter continue, and I wasn't stressed out trying to figure out, okay, did I hit all the things I needed to hit or am I missing something because it was laid out for me. So, what in October was your biggest struggle?
Um, I think just making sure that uh, um, that I was getting all of the subplots plotted out in there because I would have a couple notes scattered through, but it wasn't like a consistent like wave of a plot.
Mhm.
So I would start out with, plot A, and it would just kind of drop off of the notes, and then plot B would come in, and it would kind of drop off the notes and things like that. So um, I would say definitely being able to go back through multiple times and make sure those plot points are hit throughout the story is something that I need to work on because like there's certain points where it's like the primary part of the story, but then there's the parts of it where it's kind of the underlying tone, and it reappears later in the book.
Mm.
So not having those behind the behind the scene things happening in my outline was kind of throwing me, I think, in October, and I had to go back and kind of add those in.
Do you think that you successfully were able to do that so that you could correct that?
I think so, but I haven't hit where that starts to happen yet in the writing this month yet. So I guess we'll see.
So to be determined.
TBD. Yeah.
Love that. That's awesome. So for me, mine was timeline. What is wrong with me in timeline? Like, I think
I'm discovering I'm having timeline issues again too. Because
you are.
I
Well,
didn't do a
that
good
makes me feel better.
so yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why is my timeline not making sense? So the book I'm working on, there's just a lot happening. It's a second chance romance. So, right, the prologue is like 27 years prior, right? And then it picks up the book with chapter one, picks up current day, which is 27 years after the prologue. So, like, I had to really kind of figure out the proper timeline in current day to where number one, I didn't want this relationship to feel rushed because it needs time. And so, like, just making sure that my timeline reflects that. And then, really, through to the epilogue, trying to figure out, like, okay, how far in the future then, after my last chapter, does an epilogue need to occur, for it to be realistic? And so, I really struggled with my timeline, but I think I've got it. Jamie, you
But
actually helped me with that. So, thank you for that.
good. I'm glad I could. Glad I could.
Yeah, so I
Um,
reached out. I had to phone a friend because I was just like, what am I missing? And so
right.
I think when you get to a point in your planning process for your book where you hit a wall like that, having someone that you can reach out to and just kind of like bounce those ideas off of, definitely there is value in that. So I think that that's pretty great. Um,
Yeah.
was there anything else that you struggled on?
So not so much in the plotting part, and I know we don't want to get into this a lot, this conversation, but just this project is one that's a bit of a rewrite for me because I worked on it 3 year, like whatever year in this, and so there are a few things that I wanted to use from some of the previous editions of that. And I wish I would have in my plotting made notes which version of my draft it was and which chapter it was so that I could easily pick that up and put it in there because when I get to those sections, I'm like mad scrambling trying to find those in whichever version of the draft it is. Um, so I wish I would have noted that better. But
Yeah.
um, outside of that, I mean, I feel like it's probably been the smoothest um, November so far. I'm further in word count than I've ever been. So, and obviously some of that is to do with reusing some previous writing, but a good majority of that is new. I mean, the
Yeah.
really good majority of it is new.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. I can't wait until next month when we talk about November so that you can tell everybody what you have been doing. She is killing it, you guys, killing it. So, it's just
I'm
pretty
surprising
awesome to
myself,
see.
honestly.
I think like a lot of times too, it's really hard to like after you do your setting the foundation, which we did in September, and then your plotting and planning, which we did in October. I feel like then like sometimes it's hard to transition into writer mode. And a lot of times, or I should say, what I'm hearing from others who are also in the November to New Year workshop with us, what I'm hearing from them and their struggles is then it's a time management issue. It becomes like, when can I write? How much can I write within that time frame? And why am I not hitting it like I thought I could? And so you can plot and plan and set your foundation as much as you want, but you have to always also consider those things with it. So I know the last week I've told a lot of people, give yourself grace. That's my thing. I tell everybody, it's been a hard week. It's really hard, especially if this is your first time writing. You don't want to push too hard. If it's not coming naturally, do not force the issue because you're just going to hate everything that you do. So, um, there is some good in just kind of resting and sitting in a moment, I believe, too.
And I'm sure if I lived with people instead of pets, they would probably think I'm psychotic because I talk to my characters all day and I think about their dialogue and stuff even if I'm not writing, and I think that helps keep me immersed in the world. So it's I don't I don't mean it to sound like they talk to me because I don't, I'm truly not psychotic, but but like those thoughts are constantly in my mind, and I truly believe that's what helps too, is that like it's catching up with a friend after work, like
Hmm.
they're telling you the story and you're just like relaying it to the rest of the world in a weird sense, um but yeah, I just I try to keep their world fresh in my mind as much as I can, because then they feel like real people to me,
Hmm.
and so that's really helpful.
I think another way that that helps too, that was actually advice that I gave someone this week was, when things of this world feel heavy and are causing you to not be able to be creative and to write because you've got too much on your mind, it is best for you to like put yourself in their world. You need to really block out the world that you're in and fully take on their world. And I think that that helps so much for sure.
Absolutely.
Anything else that you learned last month?
um Honestly, I feel like I kind of undervalued plotting before. So really taking the time this year and spending the month doing it, I think was well worth the time, truly.
Hmm.
Um, I was kind of a plotter pantser, I guess you could say, and I would say I've kind of converted to more of a plotter for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like we both thought. previously that we could just sit down and discover it as we wrote it because we both are of that mindset that, the story's gonna come, the story's gonna come.
Right.
And then I think we both had kind of the same outcome where we looked at what we wrote and we're just like, this makes no sense. There is no structure to the story. And so it was a really big kind of learning experience for us, which was actually pretty good because I think it made both of us a better writer. And I know last year was when I discovered that I need a plotter. Like I have to plot it. I just can't.
Yeah. Well, and even for me, because what I'm working on as part of a series, it was really important for me to note like birthdays and special events and all of that stuff for this family unit because these dates and these events are going to mean something throughout the series. So it was really important to kind of get that fleshed out too, because it just makes for, in my opinion, a more well-rounded character because you, they have a birthday, they have all of the all of the things that an actual person would have. So it just um, gives them that added dimension.
hmm Yeah, it's really neat that you're going to carry them through three books too, or more,
Four
depending on, is
four
there
books.
four? Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool that you've got all of that because we'll get a kind of, over four books. That could be potentially over 4 different years. So we'll see them really grow as characters, which is kind of cool too. Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share that you've picked up along the way?
I would say ultimately just be patient with yourself. The the words will come. I mean,
Mhm.
you just have to let them flow out of you. And for me, I when I sit down to write, I don't say I need to get done X number of words today. What I typically aim for is a chapter, 2 chapters, because for me, my chapters aren't the same length every time. So for me, it's more important to finish the piece of the story than it is to worry about the word count.
Mhm.
So um, if you're of a similar mindset, maybe try focusing on it that way. Because I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in how many words something should be versus what that content of those words are. So maybe just giving yourself that room to, oh, this chapter is like double the size of the next chapter, but it doesn't matter because it's still good storytelling.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you have to give your story room to breathe in those directions too, because there are some things that just take longer to explain,
Mhm.
and they still fit in the chapter. So it's nice to have more uniform sized chapters, but sometimes that's not always possible depending on what's going on. So give yourself room to be creative in those directions too.
I love that advice. That was for me today. Thank you. Because I am one of those who gets stuck on the number because I like uniform. Like it's got
I
to
know
be
you do.
consistent. It just helps from a formatting perspective. I format books and so I'm like I want my chapters to begin and end in the same spot and like that's stuff that I think about when I write because that's important to me, which is really kind of silly because not everybody else cares. It's just a Shonda thing. But um, I had to tell myself today that it's okay if I am not hitting the exact number that I am wanting to hit each time because like I wrote a chapter and my guy he's a little hard to kind of he's a little tough nut to crack right now and so I'm still at the very beginning, and so we're just getting to know him, and I'm still kind of getting to know him, and things are coming out that I didn't expect would come out. But this particular chapter, my goal is to hit 2,000 words each chapter, roughly, is where I want to be, and I finished this one at like 1,500, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can get out another 300. I think this story is done here. And so, I went back and looked to see if there was any descriptor words I could add in just to kind of, enhance it a little bit. And I think I'm at like maybe 16. But I had to let it go. I had to say, it's okay, it's fine. It's 400 words, right? It's fine because that story is powerful in that chapter. And so, like, I don't want to dilute it at all. It needs to be where it's at.
Right.
So, thank you
Well,
for that.
and it seems to me, when you're doing the dual POV, it sometimes people are less wordy and they have different word choices that kind of eliminate those extra words and just get to the point. And
Hmm.
if that's the MO of that character, that's how they would tell their story.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's wrong for, maybe the heroine's chapter is a little more wordy and the hero's chapter is a little less, or vice versa. I don't think that's wrong because it's giving you as a reader the fuller picture of that character.
Yeah. Of who they are. I would say that definitely the book I'm working on now, that is exactly how it's panning out to be. She's definitely more wordy. He's definitely a man of few words. Like,
Right.
he's
But
to
they're
the
very
point.
chosen words, right?
Yeah, his are like very thought out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a particular kind of character. And
Mhm.
so,
Yeah, very calculated.
yeah,
Like not in a bad way. Calculated tends to get a negative connotation, but like he's calculated.
yeah, yeah. He knows what he wants. He knows
Yeah.
how to get it, and he doesn't beat around the bush, so to speak. He's a man of no fuss. He doesn't like fuss.
Yep.
Like, he even comments on that. He does not like any of that. And so that's just who he is. And she's the opposite,
Right.
which
Right.
is why it's perfect, but
Yeah.
it works.
Solid opposites attract, right?
That's right. Second chance love, opposites attract. We got all the tropes going on here.
That's good. Love it.
That's right. Well, it sounds like really, in spite of our struggles, we both had a really successful October, which hopefully has set us up for an even more successful November. I know where you're at word count wise, but I've not shared with you where I'm at word count wise, which I will off air. Sorry about it. You guys have to wait.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. You guys have to wait. If you really want to know where we're at, you should have joined November to New Year. I'm really sorry that you missed out on that. We check in every Wednesday on Word Count Wednesday within the group, and we share with each other where we're at and how we're doing. It's just really a great small group of people who are working on their books at the same time. We're having a good time. So,
And not to add an extra plug, but to add an extra plug for that, I was kind of on the fence about joining, not because I didn't want to support and all that, but I tend to get in my head a little bit about sharing.
hmm,
And so I actually I really enjoy it. I I am so surprised at how much I enjoy it and getting to talk to fellow writers and hear their struggles.
hmm.
It it definitely gives you that sense of camaraderie, even though you're not working on the same story. You may not even be working on the same genre, but it's so fun to connect with people that share a passion. So
Yes.
it's definitely, if you're a writer, take a chance and join and join in on our Type It Out Tuesdays because
Yeah.
that's the real fun part.
Yeah, that is fun. So type it out Tuesday. If you don't know what that is for us, it is a Zoom that we do every Tuesday evening where we do 15-minute timed sprints. And so during that 15 minutes, we're all writing at the same time while on Zoom on our own stories. And then when the timer goes off, we check back in with each other and just kind of see how each other's doing. And if anybody's stuck, we all pitch in and try to help. And so it has just been so much fun to hear about everybody's stories and what they're working on. I've learned so much about different genres that I didn't know before this, so it's been really cool.
Yeah, it kind of makes me want to try a fantasy novel, even though I have
Right?
zero frame of reference for
Jamie,
it.
what if we write a fantasy together? Maybe
That
that's
could
what
be
we need to
fun.
do.
That could be fun. Yeah.
That could be
We've talked
awesome.
about writing a book together. That could be
Yeah,
the debut. You never know,
a fantasy duo. Let's do it.
right?
I love world building. So one thing
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
found, I didn't even bring that up. That just reminded me. I can tell you guys
Yeah.
this. So last month in my planning, one thing that I was struggling with was my book takes place on an island, a completely made up island. I mean, it has like some nods to a place that I've been to that's very special to me, but I wanted it to be a fiction island that I've created, but I did not know what it looked like. And so I found a map builder and I designed my island. It was so much fun. I mean, maybe that's the designer in me. I don't know, but I loved
I would
it.
have a good time with that too.
Oh, it was so much fun. And it's so cute. It really
It
turned
is
out
really
good.
cute.
Yeah.
It is really
So there's so much fun you can do when you're writing fiction and I think that world building that just was fun and that idea came from fantasy. It like just getting to know more about what the fantasy writers were doing and I'm like, "Oh, I could do a world build. This could be fun."
you know, you probably already thought of this, but you really should throw in a picture of the map when you publish that book. Because
Yeah,
I would really love to have that
I'm going
as a
to enhance it, I think, and
of
add
course.
like the places where they go because they go to a lot of really special places within the island and so I want it to look almost like a map with that on it. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But it has helped me too to visualize where I'm taking them. Where it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Well, this has been a really fun and casual conversation. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this podcast. And next time we talk to you together, it will be next month. And we will share with you all of the things that we did in November, how we did, and what we learned, and what we wished we would have done different. Right? All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Shonda Ramsey. For the show notes and links, head over to shondaramsey.com and don't forget to join in on the conversations on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show and write a review where you listen to podcasts. Until next time, always remember, every writer deserves to see their words in print.